Making sure that we got everything going. We just started our recording, so I'm thrilled to be here with you all today. My name is Sonny Grint, and I work with Singer Sewing, and like I said, I'm so excited to be here. What we're doing today is we're going to talk stabilizers for embroidery. So we're going to get you ready for Bethany's class next week, all about embroidery on denim, but we're going to talk all sorts of things about stabilizers. And Bethany is in the chat. She's going to be helping. Amy will be putting things in the chat as far as the classes and different things. So we've got two great helpers in the chat. So if you have something going on, please certainly ask the questions and we will get answers for you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're going to talk embroidery, and on my little jacket here, you can see I did a little embroidery appliques on the jacket, which I think is really cool. And one of the fun things about embroidery is Singer does have a brand new embroidery machine. It is the SE9180. You can get that through Michael's. And with this machine, it is Wi-Fi capable too. So that's kind of fun. You can just do something on your computer and send it over to the machine, and it's really pretty cool. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about that so much today, but I did want you to be aware that this machine is here, and it is a great starter, and actually mid-range, it's a great way to get into embroidery. So really excited about that. So stabilizers, everybody, that's the base of your embroidery. And I say it like that because if you don't stabilize correctly, your embroidery might be beautiful, but when you take it out of the hoop, it sometimes can get all like wadded up. I mean, I don't know how many of you out there, I'm going to ask this, and Bethany, maybe you can keep a lookout for me. How many of you actually have an embroidery machine today? And that's why you're joining. Or so if you have an embroidery machine, that's one thing. Or if you're looking for an embroidery machine, this is a great thing to know about is stabilizers. And really, there are a few different styles, but the most common style is going to be a tearaway stabilizer. And so I'm going to switch over to a different camera here. And with that camera, I have this here. Michael's does not have this yet. However, you can get this on singer.com, but this is like a little stabilizer sample pack that has cutaway, tear away, wash away, all sorts of stabilizers in here. So it's a good starter pack. If you do not have that pack, and I have to tell you, I don't know if there's anyone on this call that has ever had their printer go out in the most inappropriate time. That's what mine did. So that's why it looks so lovely here. But on your handout, these are several of the stabilizers that are on michaels.com in the store as well, some of these. And so, you know, if you want to take a look, it's right on your handout. So these are just examples of different tearaway stabilizers, everyone. So tearaway, as I mentioned, that is one of the most common types of embroidery stabilizer. And when you use tearaway, I don't know if you can tell, this is just a cute little tea towel that I did. And it is a woven fabric. And for any of you who joined us last week with Becky's beginning quilting class, a woven fabric, see how it's not going to stretch when you pull it against the weave and weft, actually. So against the lines of the fabric. So that's a woven fabric. Tearaway stabilizers. So, no, I think you'll be able to, can you all see that okay? I think you can see that pretty good. A tearaway stabilizer, it looks almost like, oh gosh, coffee filter or something like that. But basically, you know it's a tearaway because it truly tears. It's super easy. These are, and I'm going to go into hooping in a little bit, but these stabilizers are perfect. We're going to hoop this in just a little bit, but they're perfect for your woven fabrics. So the things that don't have stretch to it. Tearaway stabilizers come in different weights and also different colors. So like the black stabilizers here, I like to use those when I'm using darker fabrics, right? So on your denims, that sort of thing. So tear away, again, easy, just like that. You can see it tears away, really super easy. There's also like a lighter weight. And so let's check this out. Can you see, you can see through this tearaway, right? This is also a tearaway stabilizer, but it's a lightweight tearaway. This one, if I do the same thing, see how you can't see through it? This is going to be a more medium weight tearaway. So guys, I'm going to come back to screen for just a minute. When you're choosing your tearaway, you're going to choose your tearaway for your type of fabric. So this is like a lighter weight type of fabric, use a lighter weight tearaway. For a heavier weight fabric, use a heavier weight tearaway. And again, these are woven fabrics. So I'll come back to screen so you can see that. But I just wanted you like, okay, so heavy, match the weight of your tearaway to the weight of the fabric. Does that make sense, everyone? Yes.
Can we answer the question of what is the purpose or why do you need a stabilizer?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Bethany, I just jumped right in instead of letting you know why you need a tearaway or any sort of stabilizer for that matter. And thank you for that. Whoever asked the question, thank you. Again, when you're doing embroidery, so let's go back and look at this little piece here. Okay, so you can see this is a really cute towel. When you work with embroidery, there's lots of, let's come back here. There's lots of stitches in here. It's not like anything you do when you're doing straight stitching. There's a lot of stitching in here. What can happen is the fabric around it without a stabilizer can pucker and it can pull in. So what the stabilizer done, it's like you have a foundation on your house. This is the foundation for when you are sewing and embroidering like this. It's what holds the fabric nice and flat while you are sewing. So whether you're doing embroidery or even, oh goodness, even if you're doing decorative stitches, I will use a stabilizer. Okay, so hopefully that helps a little bit. But basically, you're gonna put it down, you're gonna do your stitching on it, and then what's gonna happen is you're gonna tear it away. That's what the tear away means. Did that help whoever was asking?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I just got so involved with, I think I'm gonna run out of time today, guys. So that's why I'm like, get right in there. So that's why tear away or some sort of stabilizer is super important. It's going to hold it flat, and without it, you're going to get a pucker. And I'm going to show you puckering on knits here in just a minute. So it's, again, this is really, really key to what you're doing. And again, if you don't really understand what I'll end up doing is, you know, I'm just going to say this and you guys can laugh at me or believe or not. But what I want to make sure, and I see Nicole on screen, is that, do you see me, Bethany, on the screen? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So sorry about that, guys. I got confused because my my monitor is showing something else. So
I see you.
All right. So trust me and use a stabilizer. And then I'm going to show you how in just a moment. All right. So I mentioned a little bit about stabilizers, tearaways. I want to share with you something else. And what I want to share with you is there are also, and I'm going to get rid of this. And what I want to share is there are what are called sticky stabilizers. And this, I stuck it together. And can you see how this is sticky, right? So this is a sticky stabilizer. When you're hooping, so I'm going to just have this little hoop here. When you're hooping, I do like to hoop my stabilizer, even a sticky stabilizer. So it's going to actually go in the hoop. And actually, I may have to Bethany, have you help me for a minute because I lost my monitor and I can't see what's going on here. So that way I can see what you're seeing. Okay, right? Yeah, sure. So if you can maybe, I think you should be able to just pin me or something like that. Yeah. All right. Well, that's okay. Can you guys see how I just put the sticky stabilizer in here? And what, there we go. Thank you so much. Basically, the reason for a sticky stabilizer is special fabrics like velvets. I love sewing on velvets. And this little blouse here, this is a little stretch velvet. Can you all see that? Isn't that just pretty like that? If you hoop, so if you are putting your fabric in the hoop, what's going to happen is you're going to basically squish, we call it hoop burn, but you're going to squish something like velvet. So what you're going to do with the velvet is you're just going to stick it down like this. So we're just going to stick it down. And then once you start sewing, embroidering, it's going to actually stick to the hoop. So you don't have to actually do any, you don't have to actually do any hooping of the velvet itself. And I'm realizing, I see Bethany is going very quickly. I realize I probably just jumped ahead. Boy, I am just going way too fast. So whoever's on there, Bethany, how many people did have some sort of embroidery machine today?
We had quite a few that okay. Have an embroidery machine. Okay. Some Singer, some other brands, yep. It's fine because they were concerned that this class was going to be specific to the Singer machine. Oh, yeah. And I said, no, yep. This is specific yep. to embroidery, the technique. Right. And would apply to anybody. And then we had some people that are interested in getting into embroidery and not sure where to start. So okay. This information is good foundational information for them.
All right. So the way I actually wrote this class is we were going to talk about stabilizers, then we're going to talk about thread, and then I was going to show you how to hoop. But I think that's wrong. The reason why I think that's wrong is we're talking about the tearaway stabilizers. So how in the world do you use it to the person who asks, like, why do you need this? How does it work? So I'm just going to make a little change, right? And what I want to do is I want to show you with a hoop, all machines, whether it be the Singer, whether it be whatever machine you have, this is what the hoop kind of looks like, right? So let's take a look. This is what your hoop kind of looks like. It may be a different color. It may look slightly different. And what you're going to find is with the Singer hoops, they're real easy because we have an inner and an outer hoop. The outer hoop, for those of you who are hand embroiderers, everyone, for those of you who are hand embroiderers, this is opposite of what you would normally do in hand embroidery. You're going to put the outer hoop down. You're going to place your stabilizer. Can you all see that that stabilizer is right there? And then you're going to take, I mentioned we're going to use this little tea towel. Then we're going to take our tea towel like that. And so the tea towel is going over the top of the stabilizer, which is going over the top of the hoop. Y'all see that? So hopefully now, because I was going so quickly, hopefully this will make sense. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to push all of this in. And this is where we're going to really open this up. So I'm unscrewing the little screw here. So everything will fit in. I say that with all the confidence in the world here, guys. And I think I have to unscrew a little bit more.
It takes some finagling.
It does take a little finagling, right? So I'm going to do just a little bit more. And there we go. So once I get this in, you can see I've got, it's a little puckery right here. I'm not going to pull the stabilizer. I'm simply going to lightly. And notice how I'm pulling from both sides. Can you all see that? I'm pulling in from both sides like this. And now, once I have that done, I'm going to tighten this down just a little bit. So now I'm screwing that in. This is your basic way of hooping and using tearaway stabilizer. Now maybe I'm hoping that that makes more sense to you, right? Is that the stabilizer goes in the hoop, the woven fabric, so this is woven, the woven fabric goes on top, and then you put your inner hoop in and you have a nice place to do what we talked about before with this. So you can kind of imagine that was in the hoop. All right. Did that help, Bethany? Did that help a lot?
It does make sense. Thank you. I think it's a good visual to see the whole picture.
Yeah. So thank you for, when I saw Bethany typing, I'm like, oh, I'm not saying this right. So, so that is your basic type of hooping. There are a couple things when I did that with that hooping, everyone. Notice, I did not stretch this when I do this. Even woven fabrics, I just lightly pull to make sure there's no bubbles. Because if you stretch too much, when you take it out of the hoop, it'll actually pucker. So just a little bit. And the other thing is there are some people that are in the embroidery business, and it's great if it works for you. I like to hoop my woven fabrics. I think it makes it more stable and makes a nicer embroidery. You can see how nice and even this embroidery is, right? So it makes a very nice embroidery. Some people hoop the stabilizer and they just put the fabric on top. I personally do not feel that that's as stable. All right. So that's why I'm always going to, for wovens, I keep saying for wovens, for those non-stretchy fabrics, I'm going to hoop both pieces. All right. So now, hopefully that makes sense that the stabilizer, then when you get done, you unhoop and you tear the stabilizer off. And that's why it's called a tear. All right. And then
even the sticky tearaway
tears away. That's right. Even the sticky tearaway tears away. So the sticky piece that we were working with earlier, it is also a tearaway. So that is correct. So that'll tear away. And I actually found a little, I think it was a black tearaway for this. This is going to be a little hard for you guys to see. But on the back of this, you can still see little remnants of the tearaway that I used, and it was a black sticky. So I think Michael's might have that. So take a look and see if you can find a black sticky. If you can only find white, that's okay. Sticky is really good for things that, again, you don't want to stretch and you don't want to like ruin the fabric by putting it in the hoop. All right. Any questions on that, Bethany? I think finally I'm back with you guys. Finally, I think I told you what you needed. If there are no questions, I'm going to move on to the next stabilizer. Yes. So, all right, very good. Okay. So the next stabilizer, sometimes you guys, you just got to put in that chat, Sonny, slow down. So that's what we need to make sure that happens sometimes. The next or the next stabilizer that we're going to use is actually what's called a cutaway. Cutaway stabilizers, and I want to make sure I have the right group for us here. Cutaway stabilizers, everyone, are essential. So if you're taking down any notes, cutaway stabilizers are essential for knits. If you do not have a cutaway stabilizer with a knit, I'm going to show you what happens. I'm going to show you early. And can you all see this little S here? We'll see if I can get it up a little bit. So that S right there, that has a cutaway stabilizer behind, and I'm going to go through that. That little S has the cutaway. Without the cutaway, look at how puckered and pulled that is. This is not, I mean, this is why a lot of people stop embroidering, is because they have results like this and they're like, oh, I just spent all that time and effort. If you use the proper stabilizers, you're not going to have to worry about that. So this little t-shirt here, this is one of my favorite ones. I should have looked at it before I started today. It says relax. So we all want to relax. This is a cute little applique. And with this, I did use a cutaway stabilizer behind. So it is important that you use cutaway in knits. For any of you who, when you go to and you look at, pardon me, garments in a clothing store and you see little bits of white around an embroidery, like it may be a logo or something like that, that is the cutaway stabilizer. And you know that that's a good quality embroidery if you see that cutaway stabilizer. Okay, so don't, if they have that, don't be afraid of that. It really is a good thing because the cutaway stabilizer stays in the fabric. So then you come back and you cut around it, but the cutaway stabilizer will stay in the fabric. All right. So with the cutaway, I'm gonna bring this little bit over here. Cutaway fabrics are great for knits. So for anybody who doesn't, you can see how stretchy this is, especially stretchy knits like this, like my little t-shirt here. Those are in need of a cutaway stabilizer. Cutaways, they do not tear. I'm trying really hard. You can see my fingers turning white there. Cutaway stabilizers do not tear. You are truly going to cut around them when you get finished. There are different weights. This is a pretty heavy one. This is a little bit lighter weight. So cutaway stabilizers, these two that I have here, these are what are called non-adhesive, right? So you just put them behind and start embroidering, and you want them to stay in place, so you probably are going to make it as big as the hoop, so it'll stay in place with the hoop. There are other stabilizers that again, tearaways are essential. So tearaways are essential. If you're going to get one stabilizer to start with, it's usually a tearaway. And just a normal medium weight tearaway is great. So as you're looking to start getting things for your embroidery, start with tearaway. Then you're going to add a cutaway. And I personally like, we're going to come back, personally like the cutaways that are iron-on. And I know it's going to be impossible for you to see.
The sheen.
Yeah, so can you see how that's a little shiny? Or I've got another one here. At least I thought I did. Yep, it's right here. This one, it's a skin tone, and it's got a little, you can see little bubbles or little dots. When you're using cutaways, I am a full advocate of using the iron-on cutaways. I'm going to show you on another little t-shirt. This out of the way. All right. What I did is I set my little t-shirt down here. So I just got a little gray t-shirt. I set the little t-shirt down and I put a piece of the cutaway, iron-on cutaway just over the top, and then I trimmed it around the neckline. See that? And this is the area that I'm going to embroider. You guys with me on this? Because this is the area I'm going to embroider. I'm not just going to put this in. I'm going to use another sort of stabilizer that is a sticky stabilizer. But I wanted to show you this actually is your first step in having a good embroidery on knits. We doing okay? Yes.
We had a question of, can interfacing be used instead of stabilizer?
Yeah, that's a
that would be a good one to answer.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if you heard what Bethany asked. Can interfacing be used instead of stabilizers? And actually, this is called fashion. This piece right here that we were looking at just before is called Fashion Fuse. It is kind of like an interfacing. Interfacing sometimes is a little heavy for what you're doing on a knit. And also it doesn't want to, I like to pull it away. So I guess the essential answer is you can, but you may not get the results you want. I think that's why the true iron-on cutaway stabilizers work the best. So there are some examples in your handout. So if you look in the handout, there are some really good examples. If you're doing buttonholes, certainly, you know, using an interfacing with buttonholes or with decorative stitches, that works great. But when you're doing true heavier embroidery, I would recommend using a true iron-on cutaway stabilizer. So
we have one other question that I thought would be good to answer on camera. Is what weight of stabilizer is best as a starter choice?
Oh, good. So the question was, like I mentioned about tearaway is like, okay, you got to have tearaway to start with, right? I'm hesitating because lightweight tearaway is a good choice to begin, because if you're using a little bit heavier fabric, you can use 2 pieces, right? So that's why sometimes people start with the light tearaways and then they use 2 pieces, but then again, you're going to use it twice as fast. So I would say either start with a lightweight tearaway or a medium weight tearaway is fine, depending upon what you're going to be doing first. So I hope that I think that makes sense. I just want to make sure that you can go either way, but again, the lightweight, you can always use 2 pieces. All right. So I'm coming back to here with our net. This is again, like the Fashion Fuse. Someone asked about using interfacing. Again, you can use it, but it usually is not as stable as a true interfacing. It's usually more fibrous, and so it isn't going to give you the stability. And again, depending upon the color of fabric, depending upon the weight, there are different weights, but things like these iron-on stabilizers are essential for knits. And one way or another, that cutaway is essential for a knit. So we're gonna use this here in just a moment, but I'm gonna come back to this little piece. I probably shouldn't have done this quite so close together, because all of this puckering, and I know you can see it from down there, but all of this puckering that's over here is because I did not have any stabilizer here. So with stabilizer, look at how nice and flat that is. Without stabilizer and without the iron on the knit, you're going to get puckers. And some people will use a tearaway on a knit, and then when they pull it away and wash it, it's going to get all puckery. So I think that's important to realize. So again, if you're writing anything down, please make sure to write down cutaways for knits. Okay, cutaways for knits. All right. I'm going to keep my little t-shirt because we're going to come back here. And the next stabilizer that we're going to talk about, okay, so the next stabilizer that we're going to talk about is what is called a washaway. How many of you have heard or used washaway stabilizers? I ask you that because I think washaway stabilizers, just like with the cutaways, they are extremely important. They're key to making what you do look nice. And a lot of times, you've seen these. This is a washaway stabilizer. It looks like, I call it saran wrap. That's a plastic wrap sort of thing. But this is a washaway stabilizer. Another style of washaway stabilizer is one that's more fibrous, like this. The fibrous ones are what I like to use when I'm doing like freestanding things like lace and different things like that. So I want to share, let's get that out of the way for a moment. With the fibrous ones, that's what I use. Can you all see this cute little doily that I did? This was a design that I found on the MySewnet library. It is a Singer, basically it's a Singer design. And with this is really cool because you sew it here and you wash it away and this is what you have. I love this, right?
I just said in the comments that wash away stabilizer is my favorite because I used it to make that dress with scrappy fabric. Yeah. And it's just so fun how creative you can be with the wash away.
The wash away is really neat and
very magical.
This more clear stabilizer, right? When you're working on something with like this towel, it has a lot of nap to it. So sometimes when you're embroidering, you actually need to have this just set this on top. So honestly, what you would do is you would take that extra piece of stabilizer that we were talking about before. So if I'm going to go ahead and have my stabilizer here, you put your stabilizer in, and it can be one of the sticky ones, okay? Then you're gonna put your towel, and I'm not probably gonna be able to hoop my towel because it's too thick. So that's where a sticky stabilizer will work very well. And then you're gonna use this third piece to go on top so nothing catches. So you've got a 1, 2, and 3 steps with a terry towel. Okay, so that's important that you realize how you're going to use like either a tearaway or a sticky tearaway here. Put this down, and then you're gonna use this on top. So you're using 3 different kinds of stabilizer for a terry towel like this. And as Bethany was saying, I think it's kind of fun to see the magic. So I actually asked her to help me out a moment ago. And now hopefully I'm not going to spill this. So can you all see that this is a little bit of water here? And let's go ahead. I want you to see this. There's that stabilizer. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, look at that. See how it's actually just melting away. All this goo right here. That's all the stabilizer. That is your sticky stabilizer. I'm going to have to, or that is your clear stabilizer. I'm going to have to use my towel to wipe my hand here. And then the other stabilizer with this is just so fun for me. This is that fibrous stabilizer. And again, it doesn't go quite as fast, and I've got several thicknesses here. But there we go. You see how there it is. It's just going away. So in your stash of stabilizers, if you ever forget and you're like, what do I have? Just get a little bit of water and put that corner in and see, oh gosh, that one is my wash away stabilizer. So kind of fun to do that. I love that. Make a little mess here. All right. There is one other. So any questions so far, Bethany, on that? It's kind of all.
They're saying, wow, that's super interesting.
It is. It's really interesting. The last style, I guess, of sticky or of washable or wash away stabilizer is a sticky stabilizer. And it's sticky and washable. So I wanted to share this with you because this is what I think. This stabilizer with an iron-on cutaway will make your working with knits, right? So t-shirts, how many of you want to do t-shirts and sweatshirts? Using these 2 pieces together is going to make, it'll make your embroidery beautiful. Okay, so I'm talking about, so this is a water-soluble sticky stabilizer. Can you hear that? You can kind of hear that, right? And again, if I put that in my water, it's gonna eventually wash away, right? So water-soluble sticky, this allows you to not have to hoop your knit. There it goes. So it makes it so you're not going to have to hoop your knit. So let's do this, all right? So let's do this. I'm gonna take my hoop again. So I'm gonna take my hoop again, and with the hoop, the water-soluble stickies, they have this, you saw I kind of pulled this away. They've got a little piece up here. They've got a little piece that's stopping the sticky from getting on anything else. I know there are, again, I'm just going to come back. I come back here when I'm really serious with you guys, but people will sometimes just take this piece and take it off. Take it completely off, and then they just stick their hoop on the sticky part. So they don't actually hoop the stabilizer. I am not an advocate of that for a couple reasons. First of all, it's not as stable, for one thing, but also it gets your hoop all gummy. So if your hoop is gummy, then it's hard to clean the hoop. It's hard to keep that nice look on your machine. So please, if that's what you do, okay, so if that's what you do as far as using sticky stabilizer and just sticking the hoop on top, that's okay, as long as you're comfortable with getting your hoop kind of messy. All right, so just realize that you're probably going to make your hoop a little messy if you do it that way. I'm going to show you how I believe is the proper way to do this. So I now have my outer hoop. And again, we're going to put that down. And I'm going to put, here's the slick side, and then the other side. I'm going to put the slick side up.
And the slick side is the paper side.
That's the paper side. Yes, yes. The slick side is the paper side. And look at how I'm just hooping. I'm just bringing this around step by step, corner by corner. And I know I just scooted off the edge. Sometimes I have to scoot off the edge to be able to get this to work. Or let's unhoop a little bit more. Unscrew this just a little bit more. All right. So let's try again. Now, as I'm hooping, Bethany had said earlier that sometimes you need a little finagling. I will always say hooping like this. So I've got that down. Now I'm going to screw this back in. I'm going to pull it to an edge. I know that's hard to see, guys. I get it, but I'm just pulling it to an edge so I can get to the screw here. I will always say that hooping is a physical activity. You should always hoop, whether it be with the sticky stabilizer, whether it be with woven with tearaway, anything like that. Basically, hooping is a physical activity. You should stand when you're hooping, and you should use a hard, flat surface when you're hooping. This is a nice, hard, flat surface.
I just put in the chat, not in your lap.
I was going to say, yeah.
Your
lap is not a hard, flat surface. Neither are most ironing boards. I feel people often will hoop on a really soft ironing board and not get a good hooping. So if you have to clear space, and you saw what I did, it took just a moment, and we got the sticky wash away stabilizer in there. So now I don't have the sticky exposed yet, right? So at this point, this is still slick. This is still the paper. So I'm just going to take a pin, P-I-N, not P-E-N, a little pin. And I'm going to score, not too hard because I don't want to go through the stabilizer, but just enough to score the paper. And look at that. So then I'm just going to rip this along the edge. And so what I'm doing now is exposing the sticky part while keeping, like here, you can still see the papers there. So I'm keeping my hoop nice and clean. And there we go. So at this point, everybody, I have to, if we go back to the very beginning, remembering that this was all about, you know, having a nice stable surface, you can hear that, a nice stable surface. This is going to hold our fabric, my t-shirt. So these are your steps. So again, if you're writing something down, you're going to put a cutaway stabilizer. I like to use the iron-on stabilizers on the back of your knit because I know lots of people love to do t-shirts and sweatshirts. You do the same thing for a sweatshirt. So iron-on stabilizer on the back of the knit. You've got water-soluble sticky in your hoop. And once I turn this inside out, or right side out, I should say. So there's my stabilizer. I'm gonna, this is always fun. I have to kind of pull this all up and stick down my garment or my t-shirt. Okay, so I'm putting this down here. Notice I'm not really pulling, right? I'm not pulling. I'm just laying this nice and flat. Can you all see that? So now this right here, and that actually, I could see that. I don't know if you all could see that. My iron-on had just flipped a little bit. So there we go. So now I've got a nice, flat, even surface. The stabilizer is sticky, so it's holding my t-shirt. And then when I'm done, just like on this guy, right? So just like on this guy, when I'm done, when I get done, I can cut away the outside. And then when you wash it, that wash away stabilizer goes away.
And that cutaway is soft, so it feels okay on the skin.
It is.
That was another question earlier.
Yeah.
If someone's sensitive to how it feels on the inside, there's a difference.
Definitely. There are different styles, again, of the iron-on stabilizers. So don't be afraid. You may have to try a couple different ones. That's why I personally like this one. It's a little bit softer. It's more for fashion garments, but you can find different ones, but definitely try them out. There are some that are almost soft like a knit almost. So just, they can be very, very soft. The cutaways are usually softer than the tearaways, although usually the tearaway will go almost all the way away. Sometimes they're a little bit, so the cutaways are usually softer than tearaways. All right. Any other questions, Bethany?
One question is there any reason or instance where you wouldn't benefit from using both cutaway and the washable at the same time on a knit? I can't think of one.
I know. So the question was, if you didn't hear, is there any time you would not use the wash away and the cutaway together? When you're working with knits, okay, so we talked about this a little bit, but when you're working with knits, you really don't want to hoop the knit. That's why these sticky water solubles are great. You could also use a sticky tearaway, that would work. But really for knits, you don't want to actually hoop it, because the minute you hoop it, what's going to happen is when you take it out, it's going to ball up. So this is what I do every single time on a knit. whether it be a skirt, a t-shirt, a sweater. Like if I have an honest to goodness sweater knit, I use them both together. And again, the water soluble sticky I like because again, it's sticky and it goes away. You can use a sticky tearaway instead, but remember the stick is to help us so we don't have to hoop the t-shirt, because that's what we used to do when we first started with embroidery. I won't say how long I've been doing embroidery, but it's been a while. We first started, we hooped everything, and we hooped a knit and we stretched it tight and it was drum tight. And then when we took it out, it shrunk back up and we were all upset because we didn't know any better. Now you're taking the class, right? So don't hoop the knits, use a sticky stabilizer and an iron-on. So yes, Beth.
Kathy asked, laying the shirt down in the right spot looks tricky. Do you have a tip or trick that you can help us ensure a correct placement?
So I will tell you, Kathy, it is a little tricky. But what I will also tell you is most hoops, depending upon which hoop you have, and let's come in here so you can see it. Most hoops, if I come in here, have little markings on them. So the top, the sides, and then basically the top and bottom and sides. So if I know, I will often, I did this with a sweater the other day. I will often put on my t-shirt or put on my sweater or whatever it's going to be. And I will put a little pin. It's like, okay, I want the middle of my embroidery to be here. Or you can use a mark, you know, excuse me, a marking tool to put a little X where the center of your embroidery is, where you want it to be, not where it is yet, where you want it to be. Then I'm going to look for those little markings. Okay, so I'm going to look for those little markings. And I'm going to go, okay, that's why the sticky is so great is, okay, there's that. I know it's hard to see, but there's my pin, right? So there's my little edges. There's that. There's my pin. And then I'm going to check the bottom and the top as well. And so that way I can get that right there. So I got that there. And you can see that's, so I'm just looking and seeing, did I put it in the right place? And is this lined up? So hopefully that helped a little bit, Kathy, because that's what I will do. And I use the hoop really as a great guide. And one other thing, everyone, when you're getting started with embroidery, one of the things on your little handout, I talked about embroidery designs. When you're learning and when you are starting to work with embroidery, if this is new to you, do some test sews, right? I would go to, you know, a Goodwill or Salvation Army or something and get a couple t-shirts or get a woven men's shirt, and I would just embroider all over it. No rhyme or reason. I would just start embroidering so I could practice on something that wasn't my actual garment, and I would test and see, did this stabilizer work? How's the embroidery look? That sort of thing. So go get something to play around with. And I now use actually the men's shirt that I embroidered all over. That's my paint shirt, right? So I didn't really worry about what I was putting on it. I just embroidered to see how it would work and how it would look. So mark your center, find the center on your hoop. That's a great way. And again, with the way the sticky works, if this isn't right, gosh, you just pick it up. It's not like you're hooping it, right? So you pick it up and you move it. And I just moved it down a little bit. So that's why stickies are so great, is because they help you move it down. It's easy to move it down, I should say. Okay. Any other questions, Bethany, on that? All right, guys. I've got one more thing I really want to, we've kind of, like I said, after I was going through this class a couple times, I realized I needed to be hooping as we were going. So the last part of the handout is all about hooping. Okay, so it is all about hooping. So we kind of have already done that, okay? What I do want to mention to you now, and from last time we were together, we talked about needles. And with those needles, there was a question in there and I never got back to it. So I don't know if this person is here, but you asked about thread and types of threads. So let's talk a moment about threads, because threads are important in sewing and in embroidery, and they're kind of different. When you're working with threads, one of the most interesting things, and I don't know where exactly this started, but on a thread, so let's see if I can show you this. And gosh, now I need to get my glasses in here with us. With our threads, that was a bad choice of one. So I know this is going to be really hard to see. Let's see if I can get there. There we go. There, can you kind of see it says 50/3? Maybe. Can you see that at all, Bethany?
I mean, I'm sorry, I have bad vision too.
Yeah.
There you go. You have to get it.
There we go. There we go. Can you see it says 50/3 there? Most sewing threads are a 50 weight thread with either 2 or 3 strands spun together to make the thread. So you would think, so I just did a couple examples, like cotton 50 weights. They're all look about the same. The important thing when you're looking at threads, so this is for sewing. 50 weight threads are your average sewing thread. Again, it usually has 2 or 3 strands put together to make the one piece of thread that you're seeing. Okay. When we're looking at thread sizes, you would think that a 40 weight thread would be thicker than a 50 weight thread. But that is actually, I say that a 50 weight thread would be thicker than a 40 weight thread, right? It's a bigger number. It's completely opposite in the thread world. And I just said, so let's say this again. A 50 weight thread on its own is actually lighter weight than a 40 thread on its own. The higher the number, the lighter weight or finer the thread. So that's written on your handout if you have your handout. But guys, a lighter weight thread is a bigger number. And it feels like it should be just opposite, right? So if you are looking at a 50 weight thread for sewing, you're going to go ahead and you want to make sure you have something that is a 2-ply, which is a 50/2 or 50/3. So those are going to give you a really nice quality of a sewing thread. They can be cotton, they can be polyester. I think I brought it here with me. I did. Sometimes I'm not going to get up close, but sometimes I can find a silk sewing thread, which is beautiful when you're like, this is a silk fabric that I'm wearing today. So I like to try and find those if I can, but they're hard to find. So again, a polyester blend, they're great for sewing garments, and cotton threads, most people will use that for quilting. But a 50 weight, like a 2-ply, that's your normal sewing thread. For embroidery, we're doing embroidery here. For embroidery, what you're gonna find is you will find 40 weight embroidery threads. 40 weight is the most common embroidery thread, and most embroidery designs are actually made for a 40 weight thread. Rayon is very shiny and it gives that really nice sheen to your embroidery. Polyester threads for embroidery have come a long way. These are more color stable. Rayon sometimes, not always, I use rayon threads on everything. So it really is just depending upon the brand or the type. I'm not going to say brand because there's so many good threads out there. But rayon threads give that shininess. Poly threads are a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? They're stronger. So if you're doing a lot of kids stuff, people like to use the poly rayon threads. But here's something that I find that's super important for us all, is bobbin thread when you are doing embroidery. So I'm going to pull just my little t-shirt back again. When you're doing embroidery like this, you'll notice I have lots of different colors, right? You're going to use the same color of bobbin in general, especially if it's going to be on the inside. You're going to use the same color bobbin thread for everything. And usually it's white if you're on light fabrics and it's black if you're on dark fabrics. So you're using the same bobbin thread throughout, but look at how heavy these stitches are. You want to use a lighter weight bobbin thread for your embroidery, a lighter weight bobbin thread. And that's why when I was talking about this, a 60 weight bobbin thread is the normal. So you're using 40 weight thread on top for embroidery and 60 weight on the bottom for your bobbin. And again, unless the only time I ever change my bobbin threads is if I know it's going to be like on a scarf or something where it'll be on the opposite. You'll see both sides. All right. And then just for fun, I wanted to show you a couple specialty threads in that, you know, buttonhole twists are heavy, especially, let's do this. Can you I know it's hard to see, but I think you can see, look at how heavy these threads are. So I've got some cotton 12 and 30 weight buttonhole twists compared to that 60 weight bobbin. I think it's key that you guys realize that for embroidery, what we're talking about today, the 60 weight bobbin thread with the 40 weight top is the norm for most embroidery designs. All right. Do we have any questions? Do you guys have any questions? I know I got us off to a rough start. I'm sorry. I hope that this kind of gives you a little bit of a starting point as far as tearaways, washaways, and cutaways. They're all three used for different things. If you're working on a knit, you always want to use some sort of cutaway behind. I like the iron-ons, but if you use a regular cutaway, that's fine. But for knits, use a cutaway. And then a sticky stabilizer in the hoop, whether it's a tearaway stabilizer or a washaway sticky stabilizer. They're both. They both work just fine. You just don't want to hoop your knit. Okay, so that's one very important thing. And then with the tearaways, again, the light tearaways are a great place to start because if you're using heavier fabrics, you can put 2 layers together, so you can put 2 layers. But tearaways are usually where people start when you're working with woven fabrics. All right. And Bethany,
I wanted to say that Amy linked in the chat a document that you can download called "What is a Stabilizer and How Do I Know Which Stabilizer to Use?" This was a blog post on our website, so she put it into a downloadable file. So you can save it so you can reference it after this class. Of course, it's recorded too. So
in the chat, again, there is a great link. Thank you, Amy, for that. To what is a stabilizer and how do I use it? That's great. So again, there's lots of references out here. And remember, you can always play this over again if you need. So I think if there are no other questions.
They're just saying thank you. They appreciate the information. They feel like they have a better understanding of where to start.
Great. That's really good. And make sure, again, if you're looking right now for an embroidery machine, this is just a really special one, the Singer 9180. I think there's a lot of stuff going on with that. It has so many options, and Bethany even brought in a couple different hoops. You have many options to work with that. And next week, Bethany is going to do an embroidery project on the 9180. She's going to be embroidering on denim and do a little triangle zipper pouch. So really fun. Hope to see you then. Thank you guys for hanging with me, and I'm glad that you learned a little bit. So take care. Have a great afternoon and evening and morning, no matter where you are.